I find it kind of puzzling that Skyen paints this as Little Spindlehorse versus Big Amazon. Spindlehorse, as far as I know, is huge and has horrendous work conditions. They at one point had a 60% churn rate. The question I have for you is, where exactly do you know this from? The only credible, fact-checked professional reporting about the working conditions at Spindlehorse that I know about is this article from 2024 called Has-Been Hotel Animators Expected a Passion Project but Got a Hell of a Time by Stephen Asarch over on Passion Fruit. In the article, Asarch describes Spindlehorse as a fairly shambolic place to work, a tiny YouTuber's personal animation passion project that's trying to scale up into a full-scale animation studio with pretty much all of the problems that you would expect along the way. For example, they don't have an HR, or they didn't at the time, have a dedicated HR person that was just handled by one of the writers who was a close personal friend of the CEO, which is very bad management. There are credible allegations of bad pay transparency, bad management of freelancers, like freelancers are not given the appropriate information they need in order to properly schedule their work, and like producers and managers who just weren't able to get the freelancers the assets that they would need in order to complete their work in time. A lot of bad management, which leads to sometimes a pretty bad work culture. There's also pretty credible allegations of a clique-like structure socially at the studio, where people who are close to Medrano herself or the inner circle that's around her get better treatment because they're better able to voice their concerns and like argue for better conditions for themselves than people who are outside of those social circles who get ostracized and occasionally bullied. But Passion Fruit also notes that every freelancer that they spoke to agreed that the rates at Spindlehorse were low, but not out of the ordinary for the animation industry, especially on an indie production like Hell of a Boss. And Asarch also spoke to a number of people who worked at Spindlehorse who said they had very good experiences working for that studio. They had a very professional experience with support and encouragement and a good social atmosphere. And this is all tremendously normal for the animation industry. Any animation studio you can think of, you can find a set of stories like this. When you say in your comment that the animators at Spindlehorse get exploited quite severely even for industry standards, that simply isn't true. And I don't know where you get that from. The 60% churn rate that you describe at Spindlehorse, again, I would like a source for that statistic, but it's because they hire freelancers. It's a freelance-based studio. They hire freelancers for individual jobs, and once those jobs are done, the freelancers either pick up a new contract at Spindlehorse, or they move on to other things, or get better offers, or get hired full-time somewhere, one hopes. People don't churn out of the studio because they join, get mistreated, and leave in disgust. They leave because they're freelancers. It's the nature of the job. Nothing in any of the professional, fact-checked, reliable reporting that I have read about the working conditions at Spindlehorse is in any way exceptional for the animation industry. It's very normal, and that's bad. People in the animation industry should unionize yesterday, but it's not acceptable.